them up. There we go.
See if I can see my panelists. Where's my panel? There we go.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Thank you for the kisses. Here, say hi to everybody. See, yeah, over there. So, this is General Mad Dog Mattis, and this is Hunter S. Thompson.
You sound just like Israel Boone introducing your pets there. I guess you can't take the boy out of the man.
Can't take the animals out of me, that's for sure. Oh.
Who we got? We got my good buddy Brenda Mudrax on, Carol Starkey, Cheryl M., somebody who's just Daniel Boone Watch Party, Ed Thompson, Jane Fisher, John, Carla Craybaum. Hope she's feeling better. Linda Crowley. Hey, Linda. Marla, Pamela Riley, Pavkovich, Patty. Oh, Peggy and Nicole are back from Kanab. Robin.
They're not still in Kanab, are they?
I thought they lived in Kanab. Peggy and Nicole, where are you guys living these days? Linda's from New York. She's hailing us from New York.
They were just visiting. See, that's much better to look at than me. I'll just... well,
that is you. It's sort of you and you.
He is real. He is real.
Have you ever thought about it? I thought this would be funny. We should do a video where I substitute the Fess parts for you. Like you dress up like your Fess, but then we intersect it so it's like you talking to you, but it's you as the dad talking to Israel.
I'll leave that to Kelly and Nat King Cole. They did it so
exactly.
Good.
So it would be funny. We would do that with you. Let's see. Thank you for the compliment, Stacy. We are hailing from Philadelphia, so I had to wear my tri-corner hat today.
Not to excuse me, my dogs are getting a little restless because it's hard to explain to them daylight savings time.
Oh, I know. It's dark.
Yeah, they think it's dinner. Why isn't my dinner here? It's dark.
Well, it's 4:30 out there and it's dark already?
It's getting dark.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it's like dark here.
Well.
Pamela Riley Pavkovich says, love your coonskin cap, Darby.
Thank you.
Oh, Peggy and Nicole are back home in Illinois.
That's
I'm
what I
glad you made it home safe and sound.
That's what I thought.
Tammy is saying hello from Oregon. All right. We got a good crowd tonight. I like it.
All
I like it
right.
a lot. All right. So let's get a rolling here then.
Okay.
After our last one. So Houseboat was our last one. That was a lengthy one, but that was a fun one. So for those of you who showed up for that, that was a lot of fun. So we appreciate that.
This is what this one's about. Now, are you seeing the picture?
No.
I thought I was screen sharing. Why isn't it?
Here we go. There it is.
Now you're seeing it.
There, we're seeing it.
So this is the episode we're going to see. It's called The Printing Press. And it was actually a very, very fun episode for me to do because that gentleman right there, what was his name again? I can tell you, Fred Wayne. Fred Wayne used to travel all over the country being Benjamin Franklin. So, he not only was a good lookalike, but he knew everything about him. He kept his book, like his little diary of sayings in his pocket. So every time between scenes, he would just fill me with everything with this really incredible gentleman. I mean, when his accomplishments and the fact he was known as such a ladies' man in Europe. The only thing I disagreed with him is that he wanted the turkey to be the national bird.
Wild turkeys are very pretty and they're actually very smart. We have them walking around here.
Well,
they're not talking about the one you buy at Publix. He's talking about the smart turkeys.
Delicious and it was the whole, but no, I like the American Eagle a lot better first.
Yeah, well, that probably is true. I think I read somewhere too, though, that your guy was instrumental in the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin too. He was so much of an expert. And somewhere on YouTube, there's like a 15-minute clip from his one-man show that he did as well, if you really want to.
You always do all this homework. It's wonderful.
I do. It's fun.
It's great. I love it. You can
I
fill
think
me
these
in.
people are interesting.
Oh,
Well, that's in case you don't have
else,
something to say, I can say it. So
what
there
else
you
you want to tell me about the episode tonight?
go. Let's see what else. That was the biggie. Oh, any idea what year this is supposed to be? Because I actually researched the timeline of Benjamin Franklin, and
No.
it's way out of whack. Well, that's
Don't
why I
do
wondered
that.
why Fred probably, if he was so good at all the knowledge, he should have been like, that's not right, and that's not right, and rah, rah, rah. So you would have thought he would have.
What did I find out when I was doing the research for my book? I found out, I think it was the Kentucky legislature uh, moved to have us like stricken from the record. Our history and timeline was so off from what actually happened. I mean, yeah, because we ran into George Washington and these, and then Abraham Lincoln's parents, and so
That actually is more accurate than you realize, believe it or not.
Episode that Dan Haggerty, God, he never let me live it down, and I wasn't even in it, I don't think, but unfortunately he caught it when he was in the hotel room somewhere, and that's the Maya one, where the Inca Indians and I don't know, I think that was Fonzie jumping the shark on that episode.
You don't have to say Fonzie jumping the shark, because the jumping the shark thing came from Fonzie jumping the shark.
Oh, now I can't. I should have just said shark then, right? If we're gonna narrow it down to what?
Just say jumping
That
the
was
shark.
just a shark.
I'm just kidding. So anyways, no, it was funny. I looked up the timeline, and apparently he started his printing press company in Philadelphia in 1724, and then they closed it in 1740, whatever. And then he actually did the kite experiment in 1752. And then, of course, he talks to you about the kite at the beginning. So, but I don't care. We don't care.
Yeah.
TV is about fun, and it's about just, we're not like that. That's what made TV fun back then, standing the test of time. Huh?
We weren't given a history lesson, that's for sure.
I know. Well, tonight we're just going to, go ahead.
That was a true saying of his, though, that nothing's so black as lamp black.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Well, don't give it all away. Spoiler alert.
And his experiment with it. Spoiler alert, I make it out alive in this one.
Hooray! But we're going to get started here. But it's funny, tonight I know we don't have a special guest, so sorry, everybody. But I wanted to have him touch on some of the things that have been popping up on the list, which are kind of fun. One in particular that I was really fascinated with was the Ghost Town in the Sky pictures. You looked at all those? I don't know if that person snuck on the property and actually took all those pictures, but is it really closed, never to be opened again? Do you have any idea?
Well, one could only hope someone would open it again. Boy, I have such fond memories of Ghost Town in the Sky. Going there from a kid. I went every summer. I think I started like at 6. I think I started almost as soon as the show was on 6. And then through my teenage years, and, I got to do the gunfights there. I started off, they gave me a 22 so I could use it in the gunfight, and I got bigger and bigger until finally I had 2 45s and a double barrel, shotgun, and was playing Billy the Kid. And those were great summers. And in Maggie, North Carolina, and then Boone, Cherokee, I would spend time on the reservation. And I just loved that. And unfortunately, a woman bought it and didn't quite run it very well. And even they tried to get it going again and invited me back. And they, after me, they invited Johnny Provost and Lassie to come. But I was like the first one went back, and it was great because I got to take my young boys back, Dakota and Ryder and everything, and they got to do the gunfights, and it was fun. But they just didn't set it up right there. They didn't advertise. We didn't do any radio. There weren't. I mean, in the old days, I can show you some of the old signs. There'd be big signs: Israel Boone, Darby Hinton, come see him in person, everything else. They basically had to buy the ticket counter. So it was like, if you were already going there, then guess what? This is all. So it just kind of wasn't managed that well, I think. And
What year was that?
oh
Any
God,
idea?
no, don't give me years at all. This year seems like 5 years, so I don't know. It's like this year's dog years. Um, I don't know. You know what? During the show, I'll bring up some pictures from when we went back and when we saw it there. But I have a very good friend there that was from the beginning, and he tried to say things were going wrong and it needed to be run, and he didn't think things were right. And during the gunfight, he actually got shot. They found out somebody, on the blank, somebody had put a BB and taped it over it, and so he really got shot. And it was kind of a little bit of a scandal there. But I guess that's what happens in Ghost Town in North Carolina.
That sounds like a Simon and Simon episode or something.
Well,
or a Hunter episode you were in or something.
Fortunately, he did survive. It was more of a warning shot, anyway.
Well, was there actually like places to stay up on the mountain? Like, because it looks like you could only take the chairlift to get up there. Was there a road, or how did?
That's what I talked about, when we did the episode and we had Vincent Price's daughter on, and I said that I had seen House of Wax, and that's why I was so scared of her dad. When we stayed at Ghost Town, where we stayed was up at the park. And you walked through the saloon where they had all the mannequins and the guys playing poker and the guys at the bar. And you walked through those, and then over by the bar there were stairs, and they had a very nice apartment upstairs for you to stay. But after seeing House of Wax and in the middle of the night up on a mountain all by yourself, I had my mom and my sisters. Some of the times it's just my mom and me. But yeah, to walk through the mannequins at night was not fun. And then, of course, the cowboys would play games like put a pair of shoes behind one of the curtains or move things just a little bit. Oh, but like I say, fun times. And then we would take horses up there and go on overnight, pack trips and stuff, which a little kid from Hollywood, even though he grew up in Boonesboro, wouldn't get to do that often. So, like I say, very special memories there. And now I get to go back to North Carolina because my son and my new grandson and.
So how was that visit? I don't think we talked much about it 2 weeks ago because we had Paul on, but sounds like once you got out of quarantine, I bet you're lucky you didn't squeeze that little baby to death. You guys look pretty darn excited in the picture to finally be able to hug him.
It was rough because we were all in. My son bought this big, beautiful new house, but it was supposed to be finished. Then the baby was supposed to come, and baby came early, so we came early. The house wasn't done, so we were renting this little cabin up in the woods, but we were all in it together, so we all had to wear masks inside the cabins together and stuff until it came back all clear. I know, I haven't given you dinner. I will, I promise. We're going to start the show now.
Is that Hannibal the Goose, or is that the Hunter S. Thompson?
Oh, go away. No.
That's the dogs calling. Hey, we're hungry.
It's the dogs calling their lawyer. We're being abused.
Well, maybe on that note, we should go ahead and get started because you'll have 15 minutes to do whatever you got to do.
And then will you fill me in what happens?
And then I'll fill you in with what happens.
Thank you. All right, let's start the show.
Well, let me go ahead and do the thing. So tonight's episode is called The Printing Press. Its original air date was October 23rd, 1969. So this was part of season 6, which was your last season, right, on the show? Yeah. It was directed by William Ward, which he's done several that we've watched. So you must really like his directing style because he keeps popping up a lot. And the writer,
it's not like I was hiring the director, but I did happen to like him. Yes, he was.
Apparently liked his style, and the writer was Lionel E. Siegel. So, anyway, so this first segment is 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Remember that if you have questions for Darby, post them in the Q&A, not in the chat, because I don't actually read the chat. I usually pull them from the Q&A. So if you do have a question for Darby or about the episode, feel free to post in there. What's that?
I said, is there anything you don't know about me?
Oh, me? I'll think of something. I'm sure there's some questions that are burning in
No,
their
not you.
minds.
You do your research way too well.
I will. I'm going to do my research. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so let's get started on with the show with the printing press.
Come on, fly! Come on! Aw, prominently.
Hello, Israel.
Hello, Mr. Franklin, sir.
What are you trying to do, lad?
Make electricity like you said.
You need a rainstorm to make electricity.
Oh, I forgot.
It's been my contention, it's been my belief that you have to tie a piece of metal at the top of the kite to help attract the electricity to it. Of course, I don't know what these experiments will lead to, but this might be something considerable. They may help to make a vain man humble.
You wouldn't mind telling me the story again, would you?
Well, if you think it bears repeating.
Well, sure, if I'm supposed to make electricity.
Well, I was too embarrassed to walk around Philadelphia carrying a child's kite, so I decided to take my son William with me.
So they wouldn't think you turned childish.
Exactly. Well, we tied a piece of metal to the top of the kite, put a metal key at the bottom on the string, and off we went into the country.
So people wouldn't think.
People wouldn't think that I had turned...
Childish.
Exactly. Well, in the rainstorm, the string got wet, and the electricity passed over it. The kite got up in the rain cloud. The electricity was attracted to the piece of metal. It came down through the string, touched the metal key at the bottom,
And sparks.
Exactly.
As soon as it rains, can we make electricity?
I don't see why not, Master Boone.
Mr. Franklin, Mr. Franklin.
Yes, Sally, yes?
Oh, Mr. Franklin, the soldiers, they've come to the house.
Calmly, Sally, calmly. Come along, children, come along.
I'm afraid the sight of so many uniforms upset her, Mr. Franklin. No harm intended.
Just what is intended, Sergeant?
We've come to take your printing press away from you, sir. And if you try to stop us, my orders are to arrest you.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, with an eye like an eagle and as tall as a mountain was he. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. He was brave, he was fearless, and as tough as a mighty oak tree. From the coonskin cap on the top of old Dan to the heel of his rawhide shoe, the rippin'est, roaring'est, fighting'est man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, and he fought for America to make all Americans free. Daniel Boone.
And furthermore, for printing and causing to be circulated in and around the colony of Pennsylvania such seditious, inflammatory, and rebellious pamphlets, it is the decision of the colonial governor that His Majesty's troops shall be directed to confiscate said printing press until further notice. Signed, the Honorable William Denny, His Majesty's Governor of Pennsylvania.
You know, Sergeant, if Your Majesty continues to treat us as treacherous, conspiring rebels, he may prove himself to be right.
I'm only doing my job, sir.
Yes, of course you are.
Hey, you watch where you're going. All right, get this wagon rolling.
Now, Daniel, you heard, eh?
Yep.
Hey, Paul, where's Cully and Walt? And the others? The wagon and supplies.
Well, we can't get them without English pounds. They stopped me at the warehouse. Said there's a new law. You can't buy any supplies with furs or anything unless you use their currency.
What?
No pounds, no supplies.
What are we going to do, Paul?
Do? I'll tell you what we're going to do, young sir. We're going to sit down and think this thing through. Now, this has been a very bad day for both of us, Daniel. In fact, the only encouraging thing about it is the ham that you brought for dinner. Well, many a meal has been lost for want of meat. Come along, son. Come along. Now, the outposts of the colony are hotbeds for insurrection and rebelliousness, which would be better off abandoned before they become arsenals for the rebel army. So Governor Denny was heard to say one evening last week. I presume that's what was on the governor's mind when he ordered His Majesty's warehouses to accept only British pounds for supplies.
You mean to starve us out to force us out?
Yes. Yes, very much so.
But why, Pa?
Well, Israel, I reckon they're afraid we're against them.
Well, it's utterly ridiculous, you see. Because on one hand, England won't permit us to manufacture the goods we need for ourselves, and...
Why not, sir?
Well, because they want us to use the goods that they manufacture.
Which we'd be more than happy to buy.
Yes. Yes, we would. Well, I wish there was some way I could help you, Daniel.
I understand. You could help me a great deal if you would permit Israel to stay with you a couple of days.
Well, I'd be delighted to, of course. But what will you do, Daniel?
People are waiting for those supplies.
Yes. Yes, of course they are. Of course. Well, it's getting quite past my bedtime. I presume you'll want to discuss your long journey with your son.
Yes, sir, indeed I will. Now, you're sure about...
Oh, no trouble at all. It's a pleasure having him here, actually. Well, good night to you both.
Good night, Doctor.
Night, Doctor.
Good night.
Now, Israel, you're going to behave yourself, because Dr. Franklin is getting old.
Yes, Pa.
I'll be back before sundown tomorrow.
Pa, isn't this a wonderful house? I mean, there's so many rooms and windows and everything.
Yes, it does make our cabin look a mite plain and simple.
I didn't mean that.
I know. Why don't you and I get a little sleep?
All right. Give me it!
Mr. Boone, please, I must do my work.
But we're your guests!
Mr. Franklin, sir.
Well, accidents will happen, eh? No matter.
I'm sorry, sir. You can deduct it from my wages.
But it was my fault, sir. I have to do my chores.
Chores?
He thinks he has to do chores, sir, like a servant or something. I've tried to tell him he and his father were your guests, and...
No matter. I have to do my chores.
You see, sir, that's how all this happened. We was fighting over who does the cleaning of the china.
She's right, Master Boone. You and your father are my guests here, you know.
I know. We've been other people's guests before. I know all about that. We've had people guest at our house, too. Lots of times, more than I can count. We have. You can ask anybody. Anyways, we're your guests, and I have to do my chores. That's just the way it is. You gotta help out the people who help you with your food and lodging.
I see.
It's just good manners, my ma says. Everyone does chores for them who help out with the food and lodging where I come from. Understand?
Yeah, she understands, Master Boone, and so do I. We all know that people from the southern colonies have a reputation for good manners. It's all right, Sally. It's all right.
Yes, sir.
Well, young Master Boone, let's see if we can find some work. I mean, chores for you to do, eh?
Good. What are they?
Well, let me see. Oh, the kite. Do you realize, young sir, that I'm responsible for many more things than just pulling electricity out of the air?
I think I heard my pa say something about a stove.
Yes, I invented a great warming stove that circulated heat about the room. I started the lending library, the Philosophical Society. I founded the university. I was clerk of the Pennsylvania Assembly. I started the fire insurance companies, the fire brigade. I was postmaster for the colonies for many years. Why, do you know that I even taught swimming? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
Why'd they take your printing press away?
Well, I guess they didn't like what I was writing about their king and his venal parliament and how they were trying to govern us.
Oh,
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, quite.
Will they ever bring it back?
Oh, yes, I guess so. They usually do after a spell.
When?
Oh, in about a month or two, I should imagine.
Oh.
You interested in printing, young Master Boone? Yes, this is where my printing press stood before they took her away.
Her?
Yes, the female pronoun is always bestowed upon man's favorite things, Israel, the things he loves the most and he cannot do without. A sailing ship is called she. She takes the waves gracefully, sailors are heard to say. A good carriage is she, a good rifle is she. And my printing press is as temperamental and as delicate and capable of doing beautiful things as is a lovely woman.
But why?
Well, you'll understand when you get older, son. Well, my press stood here, as I said, and they call it a press because, in fact, the blank paper is pressed up against the blot ink, the same way that a wine press squeezes the juice out of grapes, or a cheese press... Wait a moment. Wait a moment. My printing press works the same way that this cheese press works. As a matter of fact, if I wanted to, I could probably get this thing to work.
We could?
Yes. It would take a little fixing, of course. Well, the cheese press doesn't come down low enough, but we could put wooden blocks in here to raise it up, and then the type would be locked in. We could slip a piece of metal between the paper and the type. We would have a uniform impression, and therefore we could print.
You could?
Yes. Would you like to see your name in print?
You bet.
All right, come along, then. Come along, Israel. Yes, now, if we were to print your name the same way that it was pronounced, it would come out Enub Lirsi.
What?
That's right. If we were to print your name the way that it was actually spelled, it would be Enub Lirsi.
Enub Lirsi? But you spelled my name upside down and backwards, too.
Upside down and backwards. Come around and look.
Oh, I see. Now my name is spelled right. I mean, you have to put everything, all the letters and words, upside down and backwards before you can print them?
Everything.
Can you really get that to work like a printing press?
Yes, I think so. With a little ingenuity, which in all immodesty I admit to having.
Could you please, I'd consider it a big favor, print my name on a piece of paper? You see, I'd never seen my name printed before. I'd keep it forever and I'd take it wherever I go.
Well...
You can't really get it to work, can you?
Yes. Yes, I think I can, young man, but the insurmountable problem is that we have no ink.
No ink?
No ink. You saw the soldiers pouring the ink out of the bottles when they took away the printing press.
Yes, but I mean, can't you just go to a store and buy some?
No, the ink comes from England, and they keep it under lock and key. And they give it only to printers who promise not to print rebellious or seditious pamphlets.
Oh.
I've been experimenting with several recipes for ink, but unfortunately, I've not been very successful. I've tried everything, but nothing seems to work. The ink isn't black enough. I've used rainwater and alum, and gum arabic, sugar, logwood chips. I've boiled it and strained it, but nothing seems to work. It doesn't hold the paper. The black just seems to fade away.
Oh.
I've tried everything, Israel, everything. Tapwood roots, powdered rocks, certain kinds of earth, but...
It all fades away.
Yes.
I guess I better get back with my chores.
I'm sorry, Master Boone.
That's all right, Mr. Franklin, sir. Pa!
Pedro, you been behaving yourself?
Yes, Pa, honest.
That's good. I'd like to talk with Dr. Franklin.
Yes, Pa.
Well, have you devised a plan?
We've arranged for a fire.
A fire?
There's a wreck of an old hull tied alongside the wharf right next to one of His Majesty's schooners. While the guards are trying to put out the fire, we'll be loading a wagon. We have a fair chance of making it.
Do you realize how many garrisons of troops there are between here and the Cumberland Gap, Daniel?
Yes, sir, I do, and we'll have to take the long way around. Of course, we'll just be traveling at night.
It sounds risky to me, Daniel. Very risky indeed.
Once we have the wagon loaded, the men are on their way, I'll come back for Israel.
Getting those supplies out of here and taking them past the guards is a very dangerous plan, Daniel.
Well, if there's some other way to do it, Dr. Franklin, I'd do it.
Oh my goodness. I love how Israel's always so excited to see his dad, like he hasn't seen him in a week or a month. It's been a day. Oh!
You're always safe when Pa's around.
Let's see. Nancy Johnson wants to know, wasn't there 2 episodes of Ben Franklin? So was he on it more than once? Not that
I don't
recall.
think Fred was, but I could be wrong. I don't. This is the only one I remember.
This was the only one that popped up when I was looking for like historical figures and Daniel Boone, as far as like presidents and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We probably mentioned him a couple of times.
Hey, where was this shot? Is this actually shot on the set?
Yeah.
So it was
This
a town
was
that
all-
was already built, or did they have to fix up because it wasn't like a Western town. It was more of like a,
Oh no, that was Salem Street. That was across the street. The studio was at Sunset and Western Avenue. And if you went across Western Avenue, they had the other side of the street, and that's where Salem Street. Anytime Daniel went into town, it was that street, just dressed different ways.
oh, gotcha. All right. John wants to know, when Israel asked to have his name printed and he would keep it forever, it made me curious if you were able to keep some of the Israel Boone props or costumes, etc. We know you kept the hat. Anything else?
Put the hat back on there.
Yeah. It's interesting. It still fits your head. That's good. That means your ego didn't get too fat or something.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, this isn't the original. This is one that was given me after, well, that's a funny story, after one was alleviated from me.
So they didn't let you keep anything then? Or did somebody just
No,
take it?
I did. I had a whole garage full of stuff. And that outfit, I had so many, since my mom was always late, I would wake up in the morning and put that on. And so as soon as she pulled into the studio, I could jump out of the car and run into makeup or run into the set or wherever I was supposed to be. So I had lots of those. But yeah, I don't think I would fit in the leather jackets anymore. That's for sure.
So you had like multiple, you were kind of like Richie Rich, where you had like 10 of the same episode or same outfit hanging up in your closet.
Israel always had the buckskin pants, the blue shirt. I mean, it was, that's his jacket changed, you know, with there was different beading on it at times, but Israel's outfit stayed pretty much the same.
Not like the theme song. That's about the jazziest version of the theme song I've ever heard. You could tell the times they were a-changing.
And I think we had 3 different versions of it. Yeah, that was definitely.
Kenny says, Darby, in North Carolina, was it Frontierland or Ghost Town? I saw you there twice. I remember it being Frontierland in Maggie Valley. So that's probably Ghost Town in the Sky that we were talking about.
Ghost Town in the Sky is Maggie Valley. Frontierland, that was in, somebody please type it in. There was Tweetsy Railroad up there. Oh, I said I was going to get the picture and I didn't. You distracted me, little one.
I was going to say, you feed your dogs.
I did feed them.
Good.
And I didn't get that picture. There was Tweetsy Railroad. There was Six Gun Territory. That was down in Florida where, you know, you guys are.
Oh, yeah?
Ocala. Used to be in Ocala, Florida.
Ah, that's right. Because when we showed the movie, the guy who owned the movie theater said that that's where he had seen you as a kid and dressed up as Israel. But that's very funny.
That's
And it was
right.
called Frontierland?
No, that
Called
in
something
Florida
else.
was Six Gun Territory. It's called Six Gun Territory. Now
Frontierland
it's
wasn't
Silver
up in.
Springs. I remember Silver Springs and doing all that fun. And then, of course, what's fun is when I was down there with you filming Scream was Cypress Gardens.
Right. Did
That's
you do
where they-
appearances there as Israel Boone?
That's where they put me in a kite. I got there and they're like, you know, because I knew how to water ski and all that. Oh, come here, fly a kite. And they put me behind the boat and, oh, that was fun. You know, they gave me about 3 minutes of instructions. If you pull, you'll go this way. If you pull, you'll go this way. I'm like, okay. They needed to take a couple of more minutes to tell me, now when you land, make sure your skis are up.
So did you do a face plant or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was concentrating so hard on making sure I was coming in, level and not doing this all over that, yeah, one of them caught and I just right through it. But
Maybe that's why they gave you the autograph ski, because they felt bad.
No, it was fun. And then we had, back then they were called hydrocycles. And they were the first of the jet skis or whatever, where you sat on them and they were like the motorcycles. And
Oh, wow.
oh,
I
yeah.
didn't realize they'd been around that long.
Oh, they were a lot of fun.
Okay, here you go. Susan Harlan says Tweetsie Railroad is a family-oriented heritage railroad and Wild West amusement park located between Boone and Blowing Rock, North Carolina.
Right, I know that's what Tweetsie is. I remember, yeah, Boone, of course. And Blowing Rock was fun, great golf course. But it was Frontierland. Where was Frontierland?
Well, there's one at Disney World, but I'm guessing that's not it.
that's not the one. That's not the one.
Was there one in New York? Bob, I thought my husband said there was some Western town that was up in New York for a while. Is that, I don't know what it was called, but I think he called it Freedom Town. Freedom something? I don't know. While you think about that, Robin Gronimus, who I will get her name right one day, how did your mom like the explanation you were given about why men's favorite things are referred to as she?
She probably loved it.
She probably wrote that line and told them to put it in there.
Well, listen, I always heard you call it, the ship, those things, she, because they're so hard to handle. So I guess Ben had a much nicer and more eloquent way.
John says Frontier Village. Was that the name of the place?
No, it's Frontierland. Oh, you're going to make me look in my own book, aren't you? To see where
is it in your book?
Yes. Okay. Frontier. Well, I shouldn't do that now while we're doing this, but.
I know. Well, Peggy and Nicole said we saw Benjamin Franklin in another episode and he was played by Laurie Main. Does that ring a bell? No.
Here's all that here.
You have to hold it in front of your face because it bleeds it out. There you go.
I can't see.
Oh, it says Frontier something. You're right.
Yes. There's Ghost Town, there's Frontierland, Six Gun Territory, Tweetsie Railroad. Gold Rush Junction. There's another one.
Boy, you did like the summer tour, didn't you?
Yeah, there was never time off, that's for sure.
I guess they didn't have you go to the Ponderosa Ranch, though, and do gun shows there.
Wrong show.
I know. Was it even the same network? What network were you on?
NBC.
Was the same network? Because that's what Bonanza was.
That's right. You wanted me to get you a picture of Lauren Green. I guess they're taking notes of all these pictures I'm supposed to get.
I don't need that till we do the Bonanza convention. So you're fine. So hold off on that one.
But I'll bring up Ghost Town and Frontier. I'll find out Frontierland for you. Anything else?
Well, I want to ask, why was Benjamin Franklin so obsessed with the ham? What was the deal with the ham and then the next scene, he's like even goes off even more about all the different recipes about how you can prepare ham. Was that a Benjamin Franklin thing or was that just?
I don't know, but it's funny. I do remember. Guess I was getting a little older. I do remember thinking that at the time, and now too, but especially at the time, that the maid was very interesting. I liked her. Israel liked that maid.
Even when you were fighting with her? Sally, is that her name?
I guess, whatever it was. I just remembered, no, that's a cute guest star. I like this.
So no answers on the ham, just.
I didn't even notice it, to tell you the truth. I noticed that Fess didn't eat any of the food. He just kept playing with it. Because that's a trap. If you get in a scene and you start taking bites of food, then every time they shoot you from every angle and every time you repeat it, you got to eat more and more and more of the food. And that can get real old real quick.
Well, was the food really cooked? Like when they gave it to you, was it already prepared? So you could have eaten it. It just.
Well, yeah, but it's like I did a commercial
keep up.
as a kid during the time I was doing the show for Daisies, Bugles, and Whistles. And the scene was I was inside a fort that was being attacked, and all the commotion was going on, and I was just sitting there eating Daisies, Bugles, and Whistles. Well, I went through 32 boxes of Daisies, Bugles, and Whistles.
Because nobody told you you're going
I
to
could not look at those things for years, decades. I'm like, no. Well, no, it's not that nobody told you. It's just that that was the scene. The kid's supposed to be like, oh, wow, this is cool stuff. And yeah, later they got to give you a bucket. It's, oh.
Do they still make Daisies, Bugles, and?
I every now and then I'll see them and I still go a little, ooh, yeah, but I think I've seen Bugles. I don't know if the Daisies and Whistles made it, but somebody will tell me if they have them.
Let's see. Oh, somebody says, Stacy Schaefer says, Disney would sue over Frontierland. Probably right. Then Pamela Riley Pavkovich said, is Frontierland in North Carolina? We don't know. Frontierland in Cherokee, North Carolina.
Cherokee, North Carolina. That's right.
That's where it was. You mentioned that earlier, so.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's most of the questions. I was trying to think if there's anything else we were going to
That was bad. I was thinking, I forgot those two were so close. I was thinking it was spread out, but I couldn't place it in any other. So
what was the deal with your Halloween thing with the horn? You had posted a picture about how you guys were delivering candy for Halloween, but I didn't see you. You didn't dress up, or did you? I thought you liked Halloween.
I had all these scary masks and things. It's been such a year that I just didn't feel like scaring anybody. I mean, you can't compete with what's already going on. So why? So no, I didn't dress up this year, but no, that was a long tube. So a 10-foot tube, so we could dispense candy to all the kids and not, worry about COVID.
Whose idea was that? Yours or?
Yeah, it was. You kind of came up with it, and then
looked like the Ricola horn. So did you put that in your garage for next year so you'll be more prepared?
Of course, yeah.
So would the candy you would just drop it in and it would just sit at the bottom and they would just pick it out off it? Or would you actually go soaring through the air and they had to go catch it?
It would shoot out, and that's where you put a bucket because, you get more than one kid and then they all grab in the bucket and stuff. And it was fun. We didn't have too many kids this year. But we called up and we lot, a lot of the neighborhood kids, and we knew when they were going to come, and we did that. But yeah, usually our neighborhood is very crowded. And for obvious reasons, it wasn't this year.
That's because Victoria Price said that's where all the best candy is. The word. I'm just kidding.
Where bottom of the barrel, or
I don't know. I don't remember where she said. Remember, she said wherever it was, there was a certain place that she said was. She wanted to go there to trick or treat because that's where she'd heard the best candy was, and she doesn't know why. So maybe that's true with your neighborhood. Everybody thinks that's where the best candy is. Looks like you were handing out the full-size candy bar, so I didn't think anybody did that anymore.
When there's not going to be too many, yeah.
You get to be generous.
Well, when I say we had a lot of people coming, yeah, they would come in vans and waves of kids and stuff. So one of the things, maybe I'm giving a little way too much here. One of the things I did enjoy doing on Halloween is I would put scary mannequins out and stuff. And then I would be one of them. And I would just sit there for the longest time until those teenage or just a little bit older kids came and started grabbing handfuls of it and stuff. And then just jump out, hey, what are you doing? So fun. They go tripping.
Simpler times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, on that. Oh, so Carla Craybaum says, I've never heard of Daisy's Bugles. Was that the brand name of those?
And Whistles. Daisy's Bugles and Whistles.
What are the whistles? Like they were whistle shaped?
Okay, I'll have to.
We're going to have to research that and get back to you on that one because that sounds very strange. We might have to find some. Somebody buy some if you can on eBay. They might be stale by now, but
just don't send them to me, okay?
Just don't. Darby does not want that as a Christmas present. All right. So on that note, let's go ahead and get back to the show. This next segment's about 10 minutes long, so we are cooking right along. They've taken Ben's press And Daniel's trying to figure out how he's going to get his supplies.
And no ink.
No ink. What will become of the ink problem? Tune in to find out. We will return in about 10 minutes.
I shouldn't be laughing, I guess. It's my work you're doing for me, Master Boone, for which I thank you.
Well, what have we got here, eh?
Just doing my chores, Mr. Franklin.
You seem to be doing more than your chores, young Master Boone.
Well, now, he's able to do a full day's work, Dr. Franklin. Don't be discouraging him.
Excuse me.
There's nothing so black as lampblack. Daniel, go out and get your supplies. Get a whole wagon load of supplies, and with money.
Money? Well, where are we going to get it?
We're going to print our own.
But I thought...
No, they may have taken away my printing press. But they didn't take away my cheese press. Put it right here, Daniel, right here.
What about the ink? You said yourself, sir, that...
Well, lampblack is the answer to making ink black, young man. You gave me the idea yourself.
Well, will it work?
Well, I believe so. I don't think there's any reason why it shouldn't.
Dr. Franklin, you said those supplies were for British citizens only, and important ones at that.
Yes, well, as long as I'm counterfeiting money, I may as well counterfeit papers for you, too, to identify you as the steward and the purchasing agent for the estate of the Earl of Norwich, a kindly English gentleman who lives some 40 miles south of the city.
What does counterfeiting mean?
Bogus, fake, made to look authentic, but in actuality, it's worth nothing. Now, Israel, I want you to gather all the lamps in the house and light them right away.
Wouldn't it be strange if somebody walked in and saw the lamps lit and the sun's right overhead?
Israel, do what Dr. Franklin said, and right away.
Think it'll work, Pa? Think he can really make money?
What's that? What's that you're whispering over there, young man?
Nothing, sir.
Think I'm a foolish old man, do you, huh?
No, sir.
Huh? Don't think I can print money like this, do you, huh?
Well,
And don't forget, young man, I am the man who brought the electrical fire from the sky.
yes, sir.
With all due respects, Dr. Franklin, I have my doubts.
Daniel, I can hold my own with the best of those counterfeiters. When I first learned the printing and engraving business, I copied and copied and copied everything that I could get my hands on until I learned how it was all actually done. But the ink,
It's beginning to look like ink.
well, I hope so. As a matter of fact, I'm always very enthusiastic about my discoveries until I discover that some of them don't actually work. I didn't want to dampen Israel's spirits. But several months ago, I hit upon the idea of using black beetles to color ink. People thought I was daft, of course. I sent Sally and her family out scouting all over Philadelphia, buying up all the black beetles they could find. I used several hundred of them. I must admit, I felt rather like a monster drowning all those poor black beetles for nothing. George. By George, if I were any younger, I'd have quite a career as a counterfeiter.
Looks perfect to me. How many are you going to make?
How many do you want? I would have preferred that it hadn't rained tonight. Might prevent this ink from drying quickly.
Well, I'm sure they'll dry just fine. What's the matter, son?
Nothing, Pa.
Oh, just hungry, I'll wager. Say, did I tell you about all the work, I mean chores, that your young man did for me here today?
Yes, sir, you did.
He does you honor, Daniel.
Israel, where are you matter, son?
Sorry, Mr. Franklin, sir.
Smells like that supper's almost ready. Come on. Delightfully savory, this smoked ham from your part of the country, Daniel. I shall make it last indefinitely. Yes, indeed. Next, I shall cook it in Madeira. I shall cook it in Madeira and call it ham bayonnaise. Then perhaps with brandy, known to ham lovers the world over as ham chambretin. Then perhaps with braised sauerkraut, sausages, and potatoes. And I shall call it ham à la saucienne. And then finally, I shall have ham and pastry, covered all over with pâté de foie gras and truffles, and wrapped in dough and baked. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, Master Boone. There are many adventurous ways one can cook foods. Mark my word.
Yes, sir.
Israel, is that all you can say?
What you said? I'm only used to having ham one or two ways. With lima beans or without lima beans. I'm sorry, Pa. Making money, counterfeit money. It's dishonest, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is illegal and dishonest, sir.
We shouldn't do it, should we?
Israel, they're trying to squeeze us out of our homes. You know how badly we need the powder and lead and supplies, and the only place we can get it is from the British. You understand?
Yes, sir, but... I'm sorry, but you always told me never to do anything if it was dishonest.
Son, it is true, if I buy supplies with counterfeit money, that I will be cheating the British Army out of money. But you and I both know that we've got to get those supplies.
Yes, sir, but it's dishonest.
Master Boone, I believe you've pointed out, how shall we say, an embarrassing flaw in our plan.
Sorry, Mr. Franklin, sir.
That's quite all right, young man. You were quite right to bring it up. I'm glad that you did. I'm proud of you. And as I said before, you do your father honor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin, sir.
And I believe the only way to correct this dishonest thing we are doing is to keep track of the serial numbers as we put them on the bills.
Serial numbers?
Yes, and after we've gotten this ridiculous law abolished, we shall approach everyone holding these counterfeit notes and exchange them for real money. And upon that, sir, I give you my word.
We can leave the furs with Dr. Franklin, and if there's not any real money, he can use the furs.
Now it's honest.
Quite so, sir. Quite so.
Excuse me, sir, but there's some men out back, dressed in buckskin, asked to see Mr. Boone.
It'd be Cully and the boys. Let's go out, Israel, and tell them about the change in plans. No, they want to see you, sir.
Well, I shall want to see them too, Daniel. Speaking of buckskin, you'll be needing city clothes, won't you? Oh, mine won't do. Mine won't do at all, Daniel.
Well, thank goodness for Israel and his honest streak, or we wouldn't have the serial number system.
Right, just in case you got one of those. All right, so here's what I found.
Oh, there you go.
So this was Ghost Town. You saw those pictures of nobody there or anything. This is it. This was the apartment on top of the saloon. So this is me kind of hiding out just for a little bit, because then I had to go back down here and sign all the autographs and stuff for everybody that was lined up.
Look how packed it is with people.
Yeah.
Those were the good old days, huh?
But that's what I was talking about. They would have the big billboards and they'd advertise. And when I did it this last time, there was like no advertising to let anybody know. So that was it. And then they also ask about Frontierland.
Jane Fisher says Frontierland is now Harrah's Cherokee Hotel and Casino in Cherokee. Same people built Ghost Town and Frontierland.
Right. Yes, the guy would go. I have a picture of him. He would fly us around in the airplane from all these different places. One of the places I learned to fly and love it as a kid, because he let me co-pilot it. But this was Gold Rush, and that was in Petty Jean Forge, Tennessee.
That's where Dolly Parton's place is now. Do you think they just took it over and converted it to her place? Stacy Schaefer says, I enjoy the old game shows on Buzzer. Rosie Greer has been on Match Game this week. Did Darby ever do any game shows? Were you ever on it? You said you did the dating game, I think, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did the dating game. Actually, they asked me the first time to do it, and I was like, I don't really want to do it. So they asked my mom, and my mom put on young Mark Copage, who was doing Julia at the time. And they did a whole fun thing where, because his dad was a single dad, so they did it where Mark was picking the date for his dad. And it's very interesting because it has a whole Howard Hughes and why he stopped trying to buy ABC and everything was because of that segment of Dating Game. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, I watched Mark do this, and all of a sudden, at the end, they're like, oh, and you get a dirt bike, and you get a trip to here, and you get that. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know you got all those presents. So I decided, yes, that I would go on. And I went on, and it was very interesting. It was fun. I got to go to Switzerland, which was good because I checked out the high school that I knew I wanted to go to there. So I got to break away and do that.
So how old were you? Were you like 17? How old were you?
No, I must have been older. I was probably about 19.
Yeah.
All I know is that I really liked the 21-year-old escort that went with us more than the date I had.
Not escort, but...
Well, they said, well, we'll send you on a date, and especially, I guess we were minors. Were we minors? But, then they say they send you with an escort. So our escort happened to be a very fine-looking young redhead, 21-year-old, and it was fun. And she was just as excited to be in Europe and doing all the fun things. And I got an answering machine, which was a big reel-to-reel. It was one of the first ones out there. And it was a reel-to-reel thing that you would answer the phone for you. And I got a lot of cool things. That was fun.
Now, is the dating game the one where there's 3 guys and 1 girl asks questions, or is it 1 guy and...
I was the guy asking. I was the guy asking questions of the girls.
Okay. And so and then if you picked one, then you went on a date with her?
Yes.
And you really went on a date with her?
Yeah, we went to Switzerland.
Oh, that was your date? Oh
that was a date. To Switzerland. They put us up in a great hotel.
Oh my gosh. What if you really didn't like her? I mean, if you think about The Bachelorette now, and what if you decided, ooh, she's really not that interesting. You were stuck, right?
Did I mention that I went for the escort instead of the date that I had?
Oh, that's what you meant. Gotcha.
Yes. Yes.
Hilarious. Was that the only game show you were on, or did you ever do another game show?
Oh, that was just about it for game shows.
You didn't do $25,000 pyramid or concentration or
never
Match Game? How come Rosie Greer did Match Game, but you didn't do Match Game?
I don't know. Maybe he had a better agent than I did.
So it was up to the agent to get you those gigs then. Is that how that worked? Like the game shows wouldn't contact you guys, your agent would reach out to them and say, hey.
Well, they didn't contact me, so I guess that's the way it worked.
Crazy times.
Yes.
All right, Stacy Schaefer wants to know, when did Darby lose his blonde hair, and was it helped along in the series for continuity sake?
Is it still blonde? Wait a minute.
Well, not quite the same shade. They didn't dye it, did they, back then? It just did it change?
Oh, of course not. No. I always ask that. Were you really blonde when you were a kid and stuff? I did my hair dark twice. Once for the bold ones, the doctor segment of the bold ones. And the other one was for divorce court. I did that when I was, I think, 3.
Were you actually getting divorced, or were you playing somebody who was getting divorced?
No, my dad had already been killed at that time. So, no, it was a TV thing, divorce court. I don't want you to think that, those shows aren't real or anything.
I know, you're stealing all the magic for us there, Darby.
So sorry. I know, it's terrible.
All right, so how long did it take?
You want to know one of my terrible stories? Okay, they're only the darlings on here, right? I'll tell you one of my terrible stories because you're asking me about game shows. Okay. They actually approached us. What's his name? Debbie Moore was. Anyway, the young guy from the 70s show that started producing a lot of his own shows and stuff.
Ashton Kutcher?
Thank you. He started a game show. And the whole premise was they would bring a semi-truck up to your front door and like lower the side of it. And then that's where they'd have the game show. And the family would be the contestants. And it would be to see how much you know about your family members. Like, who was your son's first girlfriend or first kiss or whatever. And they did, that was kind of a cute premise. So they did ask us, I didn't reach out, so I don't know how. Anyway, they asked us if we would do that with my family. And I said, sure, it'll be fun. So we all went down and we did the interview. And it was a lot of fun. And everybody was great. And then we came back and they actually gave us a call back because we first went up, and did our little, side things. And then they brought us back for an on-camera one. I shouldn't be telling this story. And they started talking. And one of the questions were, what is a tradition that your family does that that you really like or that's maybe unique or something? And the kids all talked about the spider webs, because whenever my kids, because my mom would do it for me, whenever the kids lose a tooth, they wake up in the morning and where the tooth was, there's a string, and the string goes all around the house, and all along the way there's different little things like a toothbrush or just a little maybe candy, but you have to follow the string all the way around till you get to the final prize at the end, and it's called the spider's web. So I'm sitting there, and little India must have been, 5, maybe she was young, 5, 6, my little girly. And we're all there, and so I started talking. I said, yeah, I said, so yeah, I said, when they lose their tooth, I get the string and I do it and we tie it up around it. And all of a sudden, little India looks at me and goes, you mean there's not a tooth fairy? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I said, that's as bad as saying there's no Santa Claus. She looks at me and goes, there's no Santa Claus?
And you went, what? There's what? Wait, what? Oh no, you double whammied her, and she never, that's why she moved to New Zealand, and she never forgave you. She said, maybe he moved to New Zealand, I'm gonna go seek him out there. Oh my gosh, you double whammied her.
Double whammied her. See, that's why this television stuff is bad. Just, on camera now, we gotta talk, we gotta, make it interesting. And when she just looked at me with that little, there's no Santa Claus? You mean there's no Santa Claus 2?
But did you get the gig?
No, it was all that. We set it up. They loved us. We were there. It's coming to our house. Our house even had a street long enough. They came out that the semi truck could pull up and everything else. they ran a lot. See, you got me telling stories I shouldn't be telling. ABC family show, and I guess they didn't like one of the shows I did. They thought it was a little too raunchy.
And they found this out at the last minute and said and pulled the plug.
Yeah,
on
no,
you,
they
huh?
pulled it. Yeah, they pulled it because of one of the movies I had done that they thought was not for their family.
Real family friendly.
Yeah.
I
Good.
could
So
think of a-
I
could
blew
think
it
of a
for my
couple of
daughter.
them.
He didn't even get the show.
Not
Showbiz.
good.
I
Not
don't
cool.
recommend it, unless you're.
Hopefully there's no kids on here and you've just ruined it for them too. Children, leave the room. Too late now.
As far as I know, I don't have any young darlings and dudes in there.
All right, so Marla asks, so how long did it take to get the lamp black off? Which is a good question. You were filthy, so did they really wipe you down with was it really scratching it out of the things to get the ash?
I don't know. The makeup people were great. At least I wasn't like poor Ed Ames, who has to stand there every morning like this, and they put the makeup over the whole body. That was a pain for him.
He wasn't a real Indian? What? Did you just ruin that for us too?
That's that Ames thing. After he left the show, he was gone. Pat Blair and I saw that he was performing somewhere. We went, we saw him, we were watching him, and he was singing, and it was beautiful, of course, with his beautiful voice. And there was some heckler doing something, or, I don't know, it's probably saying something about the show. And all of a sudden, Ed turned him. Now, see, you have me thinking there are kids on here. Don't. I think he used the F word with a Jewish Indian.
Because he's a real person, as we found out from Paul Peterson. You guys are real people too.
We're real people too.
You're not just those people who live in the box. Okay, Ed Thompson asks, the maid looks familiar. Was she on an episode with Jimmy Dean? So the actress that was Sally, was she on another episode?
I don't know, but I have a Ginger that does wonderful research, and I'm sure we'll have all of
These
answers.
folks do better research than me when it comes to the show, so that's good. We'll have to find out. Ed, we do not know the answer, but we will find out and report back unless
And
somebody's quicker.
Are you talking about the Jimmy Dean one where he found the two little kids, which was Jodie Foster?
Was he only on one episode, or was he on a
No.
couple
He
episodes?
was one of the regulars at the end there.
He was a recurring, or he was a regular? Was he actually in the credits?
He was a recurrent. And my school teacher tried to do everything she could to keep us apart.
You and Jimmy Dean, or you and Sally the maid?
No, me and Jimmy Dean. Jimmy came on the set, and everybody would tell, no, there's a kid, because he loved his blue humor. He really had a lot of good jokes. And, they kept warning, no, there's a kid on the show. There's a kid on the show and stuff. So I came into makeup one day, and I sat down. It was my first, and Jimmy was there, and he sat down. He goes, oh, so you're the kid. Excuse me, what? I go, yeah, they warned me there's a kid on the show. I got to watch myself. I'm like, oh, really? So I came up with the dirtiest joke I could think of at the time. And I told it to him, and he cracked up, and then he told me a dirty joke. And then we had a ritual in the morning where we would tell dirty jokes to each other.
But the question is, did you understand his dirty joke, or was yours like an innocent dirty joke, and then his was like a grown-up dirty joke?
I think mine were kind of grown up too. I kind of grew up in a grown up world. I didn't really hang out with kids. I was, so I did hear a few things.
Well, we won't tell you to tell the joke. We've already got you in enough trouble tonight.
Ruining a kid's Christmas.
All right, Pamela Riley Pavkovich. Was there spiced apple rings and maraschino cherries on the ham? See, the ham came back.
You and Ginger go for the ham. I did hear it this time.
He got a little obsessed about the ham and his multitude of recipes for the ham. So I'm just saying.
I just had it with beans and without beans. Come on. I guess that was a Franklin thing, that he was also a chef, and liked to do a lot of experiments.
Well, he was a traveler, right? Didn't he like to go to France, and he liked to go to?
And over there, he was known as quite the ladies' man.
I'm sure he brought some. He would have brought COVID back for sure. Stacy Schaefer says the Crawford brothers both had to lighten their hair for their series. Oh, I did not know that. Did you know that?
Okay. No.
Johnny and Robert. Stacy Schaefer came up with the movie you got busted for. Was it Malibu Express? Or was it Firecracker?
No,
Probably Malibu Express. That one's pretty racy. Not
yeah,
that I would know.
it
I've never
was
seen
Malibu Express. I didn't even think of Firecracker. Yeah, that was funny. That one wasn't that bad till Roger Corman got involved.
I think he did that to a lot of movies, from what I understand. Because there was one. It's funny. There's one that I meant to ask Paul Peterson about this, because there was a Western that was on that he plays like a bugler in, and it had a lot of famous people in it. But it was a Roger Corman had produced it too, or something, which I thought was interesting. We had seen it, but I didn't get to ask him about that. Brenda wants to know if that's Philadelphia behind me. Yes, it is. See?
There you go.
There's Paul Revere riding down the street.
And speaking of that, I think we should, we're going to do another thing with Paul, and maybe we'll get into some more of his causes that he really likes and stuff, which means we can't keep it all as light as possible, because he is really on the front line and dealing with a lot of stuff that's not that pleasant.
Well, we didn't really talk about his music career at all, so that was pretty interesting. I did look up that the show that they did, the pilot, that Mason Reese and Allison Arngrim and Don Wells, and
Right.
Turns out, and I was looking at it because the kid who had been on Courtship of Eddie's Father, he was all grown up and on it, but it's like and Robbie Rist, who you all would know as Oliver from Brady Bunch, but that's all it was, is it was all grown up kid actors. The girl who played Tabitha, she and Allison Arngrim are actually lesbian lovers.
In the TV show.
Yeah, I mean, in this pilot, and it's only on the web. Like, it was a pilot that they did that I guess Mason Reese. Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
It was interesting. I didn't know who Mason Reese was, so I had to go look up his commercial that he was in.
He's very famous in commercials.
He's very short. He's still very short.
Yes, he is.
But I guess he's got a hot girlfriend now or something that's younger than him.
And he does. Yes, he does.
Speaking of being quite the ladies' man, I guess. So there you go. So Stacy Schaefer, that's a tongue twister, says we need to watch Firecracker. Stacy, no, we don't. You can find that on Tubi TV, Tubby TV, or Tubi TV.
I don't know what initials you're throwing out there, but
she says, we watched Robert Carradine and the Pom Pom Girls. And if there was a lot of rock and band action, that's probably why Bobby told you to watch it. He's a nut. He's done quite the, you boys back in the day. I mean, those movies were really popular back then, right? I mean,
they were. Are you kidding?
I hate to say those TNA ones.
That,
but you went to the Philippines for yours, but Malibu Express you didn't do in the Philippines.
Oh, Malibu Express was here. Yeah, the Firecracker was down in the Philippines. Fun place to shoot, especially if you're on a movie location, because I had been there before, traveling on my college ship and stuff, and it was nice, but it wasn't that great. But then I got to stay down there for a long time, and I knew people from the set, and we get, they invited me to their home and were showing me places that normal tourists don't get to go. Especially one of the guys in the show with me was like their 3 times, karate expert champion. And so we could go to some places that were pretty, and there was like a bubble around us because nobody wanted to mess with them. It was a lot of fun.
Well, if you get a chance, that's definitely an interesting watch. The girl, you don't keep in touch with the chick who was in it, do you?
That's an
you
interesting.
Remember who it was? Huh?
I missed what we're talking about.
The Firecracker.
Yes.
The girl that was in that with you. You don't keep in touch.
I thought you were talking about a watch. I'm like, yeah, that was an interesting watch. Okay. Julia Kessner, and unfortunately, she's passed away.
Really?
Yes, but she was a lot of fun down there, and she was fun to work with.
And she really could do the martial arts. Like, is that all her doing the karate stuff?
No.
Yeah, no. But But you are.
Although,
You're
if
really
you
doing
listen
your stuff, right?
If you listen to the trailer, you know, she won some trophy that the producer put together for her. No, she was a wonderful dancer, and they showed her, you know, how to do and stuff, but martial arts was not her. I don't think that's why they hired her.
But you were really doing your
Actually,
martial arts stuff though, right?
You know what's funny? Actually, I forgot all about that. We flew down there with another actress that was playing that part. And we were only down there for like a day or two, and something happened. And she was on the next flight out of there. And then they brought Julianne in. And then, you know, she fit in, did good, and was, like I said, she was a lot of fun to work with.
All right, I think we have very much digressed from our Benjamin Franklin
yes,
family friendly, but we are practicing the freedom of speech, which is a freedom of the press.
Freedom of the press.
So this, we have a 15-minute and a 10-minute segment. So do you want me to just run the whole 25 minutes to the end, and then we'll come back? So if you guys have any questions, we'll finish up and then we'll wrap up at the end. So here's the last final farewell of the printing press.
Follow me, sir. Begging your pardon, Quartermaster.
Quite proper, quite proper. How is his lordship the Earl these days?
The Earl, fair, just fair.
Now, what's this? 10 barrels of gunpowder? What's his lordship going to do, blow up the old south of Pennsylvania? What does he need with all that powder?
Oh, tree stumps. The meadows are full of stumps, and the Earl told me to blast them out, and blast them out I will. But that takes powder, and lots of it.
I see. You'd better inform His Majesty's troops in your village what you're going to do, so they don't think you've started a war.
I'll do just that.
Good. I'll try to get you loaded up in time to leave first thing in the morning.
Well, with all due respect, Quartermaster, I have to be back tomorrow midday at the latest. Those were my orders. I don't mind helping your men load my wagon, but we have to do it now.
Now? Well, that's terribly inconvenient, Mr. Wharton. That's most inconvenient. You see, there's a bloody inspection here today. Captain Serlo takes a fit, he does, if this place isn't looking neat and tidy. And if I were to take my men away from the cleaning to fill your order.
Well, I wish I could wait, but I can't. Perhaps if I spoke to Captain Thurlow. I've heard the Earl speak of him many times.
Oh, no. No, sir, that won't be necessary. No, we'll have your order filled on the double. Smythe! I'll just figure out your charges, sir, and we'll have the wagon loaded in a shake. Smythe, where are you, man?
Sir?
Here, have this order filled at once for Lord Norwich's man here.
Yes, sir.
My wagon is right out in front.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's all, Smythe. That's all. Be off, man. Tilson, that's enough. Go give them a hand with the order.
Yes, sir.
Would you like a sweet, sir?
Oh, no, thank you, Quartermaster.
Why don't you sit down, sir? It will take them a little while, of course, to get the wagon loaded.
Well, thank you, but I should go out and see if the wagon is loaded properly. It's a long trip, especially at night.
Oh, right you are, sir. That's a much better idea, quite.
I'll be back in to pay after the wagon is loaded.
Fine, sir. Right you are, sir. Whatever you say, sir. But please don't be having any talks with Captain Thurlow. Life is difficult enough here in the colonies without any trouble the likes of that.
And then what happened, young man?
Well, I picked me up a branch from the closest tree, and then I whopped that bar on the nose every time he came close. I finally got the idea I wasn't going to be his dinner. Then he walked away, rubbing his nose all the way.
That's amazing, amazing. You know, I've never even seen a bear. Can you believe that?
You haven't?
Mr. Wharton? Mr. Wharton, sir. The bill for your supplies. Quartermaster Owens has it all prepared.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that didn't take long now, did it, sir? Lord Norwich will have his supplies by midday tomorrow for certain.
Oh, that looks fine. That looks just about right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Corey.
One moment, sir. You don't want to go back to Lord Norwich without me marking the order paid in full, do you? Your governor wouldn't like that one bit, now would he?
No, he wouldn't.
There you are. There you are, sir.
Thank you, Quartermaster.
All right, man, in here.
Mr. Wharton, stop! Compliments of Quartermaster Owens, sir, but you've paid £5 too much for the goods you've got.
Too much. You're certain?
Yeah, Quartermaster Owens counted it over 3 times, he did.
Why don't you give this £5 note back to Quartermaster Owens as a proper reward for his honesty and tell him I suggested share it with all of you men.
Well, thank you, sir. That's very generous, I'm sure, Mr. Wharton. Thank you, sir.
Not bad, Quartermaster at Arms. Not bad at all. Sergeant Ridley. Ah! Put Corporal Smythe down on report for being late for inspection. Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir.
What have we here, Sergeant Ridley? Ah, a chimney sweep in our midst. Salute the sergeant, Corporal Smythe.
Pretty filthy, I'd say, sir.
Filthy? Well, I'll be dipped.
Rather disappointing, Quartermaster. Smythe turning out like a gutter snipe.
Shocking, sir.
Quite. Well, let's hope the supplies are neat and trim.
Yes, sir.
Quartermaster at Arms.
Yes, sir.
Your hand, sir. It's filthier than Smythe's. I can't believe my eyes, sir.
I can't believe my eyes either, sir.
It seems that you two have had your hands in the same chimney.
What have you touched that I have, too?
Nothing, sir. Except
What's this?
Mr. Wharton insisted I give it back to you.
Mr. Wharton?
The steward of your friend, sir, Lord Norwich.
Lord Norwich's steward's name is Browley, not Wharton. Fresh, homemade 5-pounders, Quartermaster.
Oh, that can't be, sir. Mr. Wharton's. Get me the cash back, Smythe.
I told you Lord Norwich's steward's name is Browley. Who's this fellow you keep calling Wharton?
I told you, sir. Sergeant Ridley. You saw him, the tall fellow. He was leaving just as you came in.
Yes, the tall man. Yes, I've seen him before, somewhere, sir.
That man gave me counterfeit money for the supply, sir.
Counterfeiting the king's money is a hanging offense, Quartermaster Owens.
That's right. Take 5 men, run down that man who stole the king's supplies with counterfeit money. You know what he looks like.
Yes, sir. Go with them, Sergeant Ridley.
Yes, sir.
We can't have a counterfeiter roaming around the countryside with a wagon load of His Majesty's supplies now, can we, Quartermaster?
No, sir.
Dismiss the inspection.
Yes, sir.
Well, what are you printing there, young Master Boone?
Begging your pardon, Mr. Franklin, sir, but you'd laugh.
Oh?
Well, you'd have the right to laugh, too.
Very well. Very well, young man. I was only trying to be of some assistance.
You know, sir, half the fun of printing is doing it yourself.
I understand, son. If my youngest son, Francis, had lived, he would have probably have said the same thing.
Sorry, sir. Guess I wasn't being very neighborly.
Well, let's see what you've printed then. Ah, Israel is the best shot in Boonesboro, eh?
I told you, stupid.
No, not at all, not at all. It's a marvelous beginning, actually. Shows boldness, a certain immodesty, a quality which is very much admired in the communities on the frontier like Boonesboro.
Thank you, sir.
You miss your home, do you?
Yes, sir.
Well, I understand. But you know, it's quite wonderful here in Philadelphia, Israel. All the great ships tying up at the wharves, and people from all the different countries of the world. And... well, you'll be home soon, son. You'll be home soon.
Let's have those fresh horses, Cully, and fast.
We just about gave you up.
Oh, it's all there, Cully.
Looks like these horses have been running away from something.
Yeah, they don't say. Walt, you better keep an eye peeled.
Got a barrel full of soldiers on your tail there?
Only 6 or 7.
That's about 2 each.
Not this time, because you're going to be hightailing it through the Cumberland Gap. Tell Rebecca Isn't and I'll be along in a couple of days.
And you better not come back wearing those clothes.
Hell!
I'm all right.
What about the wagon?
It must have broken down somewhere. We'll see it better in daylight.
We can't get the horses through that thicket.
Then we'll follow on foot. Dismount. Two of you stay here and look after the horses. The rest of you, spread out, get out for him. I know where I've seen that man before. At Benjamin Franklin's house. He's a friend of Franklin's. I better tell Captain Turtle.
Well, how did you like that ham of bayonnaise, young Mr. Boone, eh?
It's almost as good as with lima beans.
Well, we'll clean up in here tomorrow, Israel. It's quite past your bedtime, you know. I wasn't expecting anybody. Who can that be? Stay in here, Israel. Stay here. Answer the door, Sally.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Please tell Mr. Franklin that I'd like to see him, would you?
Tell him yourself, Captain.
Quite. Sergeant Ridley.
Sir.
Remain here and permit no one to leave the premises.
Yes, sir. All right, you two, round to the back. Keep an eye on the back door. This young lady will show you the way, won't you?
It's all right, Sally. It's all right.
Yes, sir.
Come along, Captain.
A man appeared at His Majesty's warehouse at the wharf today and purchased supplies with counterfeit currency, Dr. Franklin.
How enterprising of him, Captain.
A hanging matter, Dr. Franklin. My man Ridley identified the man as a fellow seen entering your house. A man you addressed as your friend. He cannot, however, recall the name by which you addressed him. He was accompanied by a young boy, Ridley recalled.
That would have been Tompkins, a friend of my son's, who was bringing my grandson to visit with me. Your man Ridley has a very good memory, Captain.
Sergeant Ridley!
Yes, sir.
Was the man's name Tompkins?
No, sir.
Search the house, Sergeant Ridley.
Yes, sir.
Now, look here, Captain. You've got no right to be breaking in here.
Perhaps Ridley's memory is better than yours, Dr. Franklin.
I shall see to it that your superiors hear about this illegal conduct of yours by tomorrow morning's mail.
Your contempt for His Majesty's administration of these colonies is well known, sir. I may be a bit brash, but I remain quite logical. Of all the men in Philadelphia, you were the most likely to have printed such counterfeit notes.
I take that as a compliment, Captain.
May I remind you, sir, this is not quite the same thing as printing those annoyingly slanderous, seditious pamphlets. Printing the king's money without his permission is likely to be taken far more seriously by the crown than mudslinging.
Very well, I confess. Take me to the stockade.
I am not amused, sir.
No, I confess, Captain. To err is human, to repent divine, to persist devilish.
Really, sir?
Well, are you going to take me or not?
You're too eager, sir.
Sir, no man, no boy, no printing press. We searched every room in the house except the one across the hall. It's locked.
Will you open it, sir?
Well, if you want my confession, Captain, I demand that you take me to the stockade right now.
Then we shall have to knock it down.
I will confess to counterfeiting those notes, Captain, only to Governor Denny himself.
What are you trying to hide in here, sir?
Nothing, sir. That is my workroom where I do my experiments. Sergeant Ridley's memory is so good, perhaps he can describe it to you.
Will you or will you not open it, sir?
If you forcibly enter that room, I will confess to nothing.
You actually expect me to believe that you will confess? Really, sir, I've read your pamphlets. I wouldn't for a minute allow you to attempt any of your tricks on me. Knock it down.
Yeah.
were trying to trick me, weren't you, sir? Into a false arrest without evidence. Could have forced me to resign my commission, sir.
Yes, Captain. I should probably have had a full account of it published in the London newspapers. It's such a sad commentary on the times, that seems to be the only amusement left to me today.
I think it only fair to warn you, sir, that that day is not far off when crimes against the Crown will be reason enough to silence the guilty parties permanently, regardless of their influence and popularity in high places.
I take it that means you will return my printing press in time for me to have the honor of being the first man permanently silenced for my country?
Would like to, sir.
Well, they're gone. The supplies are on the way to Boonesboro.
Excellent.
Where's Israel?
Well, I don't know.
You mean you don't know where he is?
No. I left him in here when the soldiers arrived. Everything we were using to print the notes was scattered all over the room. When the soldiers broke in, I expected they would find Israel here and all the evidence, but he must have cleaned it up, as you can see. Evidently, the boys cleaned it up, but I don't know where he is.
Israel? I taught him to hide the chimneys during Indian attacks.
This enough?
Zeke,
Yes, sir?
you know, it's awfully nice of you to be helping Israel like this, but I do hope you leave something for him to do.
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm doing them all today. And tomorrow. And the rest of the week.
The rest of the week?
Yes, sir.
See, it's very friendly of you to help Israel this way, especially after the disagreement you had, but...
Well, why are you doing them, Zeke?
Yes, why?
For money.
Money? What money? An Israel Boone £1 note?
It's signed with Benjamin Franklin and has a real serial number on it.
Israel?
right. Woo! There was okay. Were you
Now
really
that-
stuffed? Were you really stuffed up into that chimney, or did they have like a
that last
cutoff?
now that was dirty. That was dirty.
But it wasn't a real chimney, though, was it?
Well, no, it wasn't a real chimney, but I had to crawl up in it. It was a tube, and they, of course, just put all that all over me. It was,
So the coughs were real.
yeah, the dirt. You know, they hit you with that the dirt bag, and that's why one of my favorite scenes in the movies is Ghostbusters. At the very end, when Bill Murray and everything, they finally blow up the marshmallow guy.
Yeah.
And they all walk out, and they're just covered in all that goop and all that stuff. And Bill Murray walks out. He's got one little piece on the end of his nose. You know, he told the wardrobe lady, no, don't. Here, just give me that. And if you walk out, if you look at the other guy's expressions, they know exactly what happened. They're pissed, but they keep the scene going. I think it's brilliant. It's so good.
Oh, that's true? That really is true?
Oh, yeah.
He was supposed to be all covered, and he...
Oh, sure.
Well, that's funny.
If you go back and watch it, and you just look at their faces when they all come out, because they come out from two different directions. I love it. Oh, so listen, I wanted to tell the darlings, if they wanted to, now let's see here if I can get technologically. I have this picture that's up, and it's in the general store, and if anybody wants it from this show, since you sat through this whole thing, I'll give you $10 off on it. Ooh, I think there's some way I go in there and give you a code or whatever, and I'll work that out as soon as I get off here. And let's just make the code what, Ben?
Ben 2020.
Oh God, do we have to bring 2020 into it? Can't we just do Ben?
You can do whatever you want, Darby. It is your. Oh, somebody's wanting to know if it's autographed.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do an autograph for you.
For you, Brenda, he will.
No, you get it through the store, and then make sure, there's a box that says who you want it personalized to. Make sure you fill that out and stuff. But give me, Ginger knows, give me about 20 minutes or so to figure out how to put the code in there to give you a discount or anything. But
in other words, order them tomorrow.
There's confidence for you. I love it.
Saying.
You want a picture of me and Ben? Ben.
Type in Ben, you get $10 off. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said.
We're quoting you here.
This one picture that I share will make you happy. First of all, who's the first one to tell me who this is? Come on, guys. Come on, darlings and dudes. Tell me who that is. But then this was in Frontierland. And that's my sister Darcy. And that's my sister Darren, me, Poncho, who saved my hearing. The reason I can't hear, that's another story. Maybe we'll tell it during this. But this man actually saved me from going to the emergency room when everything blew up. The reason I'm showing this is Ginger had an idea that in 2 weeks that we should do the Thanksgiving Boone show, and that I should maybe ask Darcy and Darren to come on and be the guest. If you had questions about what it was like to be growing up with me, you wouldn't want to know that, would you? Just say no, and then I wouldn't have to do it, because I don't know if I want.
We like to know everything about you.
I know, but my sisters would probably tell you everything, and I don't know if I need.
Well, you pretty much told us everything else today.
Is it bad enough I told you I ruined Christmas for my daughter?
Well, see, maybe your sisters ruined it for you, so you were passing it on. So Stacy Schaefer suggests it should be lamp black, or Sally is hot, or or Ben Gay. I don't know why Ben Gay. What?
Yeah, let's not politically do that. Lamp black. I like that.
Ben 10. Ben 10. Remind you how much you told him you'd take off. Ben 10.
Ben 10. Ben
number 10.
And 10.
10.
Number 10. Ben the number 10. Ben 10.
Good one, Tammy. Tammy, you win.
You win. Ben 10. I like that.
Stacy Schaefer says, I would enjoy the sisters. So there you go.
Oh,
that's right. Brenda says, don't leave us hanging. That kid looks familiar. Who was the kid on the far right? You never said.
You didn't get that one?
No, you never said anything. How are we supposed to know?
Oh, okay. Well, here, I'll give you a hint. When I went back and did, I told you when I went back and did Ghost Town, they had Johnny Provost and Lassie came and they actually kicked Lassie out. The guy that was telling me who owned Lassie said it was the first time Lassie had ever been fired from something.
Uh-oh, did Lassie bite somebody?
No, I don't think so. It was so badly run.
Oh.
I guess there was just some disagreement between the two of them, but Lassie got fired. But that's John Provost from Lassie. There he is.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How old is he there?
Dates and ages. You know, my mom always said chronological age has nothing to do with it. It's how old you feel. So
was Lassie still on the air at this time, or was it more?
No. This was after Lassie.
Okay. I was gonna say because he looks older than I thought I remember him being on the show. So.
Yeah. No. This was after.
Brenda Mudrak says that's cool. Carla Craybaum says, "Oh, come on, Darby, we want to know more about you." So I think that's a vote yay for the sisters.
That's only 2 votes for the sisters. I think we can leave them out of it. That'll be fine.
Oh,
we
come on now. Come on, people, chime in here. Come on, we got 18
Thanksgiving doesn't need to be a
attendees.
family affair. It's okay. You know, it's COVID. We shouldn't be, you know.
In these troubled times, Darby, it should be all about family. Maybe your sisters will pipe in here.
Thank you. I had fun.
Israel is the new Santa Claus. Did Israel end up cleaning every square inch of Ben's house? Yeah, he pretty whipped up that room pretty good.
I did, didn't I? Impressive skills there.
Oh, Tammy says, per IMDb, the actress who plays Sally is Kamahama Lori. I don't know. I don't think that's what it said, but.
And did she go on to do other
Says
things?
she only has 8 credits listed. Daniel Boone only once, this one. So not any with Jimmy Dean. So whoever asked that question earlier. But I think that's, Peggy and Nicole say bring on the sisters. So you got 3 votes now for it. Pamela says would love to see your sisters with you. That's 4 votes. I vote, so that's 5 votes.
We'll bring this up later. Let's not do any more voting today. I think there's enough of that going on.
Well, hey, but at least we get results right away. Oh, sorry. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's
hey, I got one quick question. At the
I
end,
might need to see those votes in writing then to make sure
Sign
that,
them.
that you're not saying there's more than there really
we're
are.
gonna print. We're gonna put our names in print.
Okay.
So the boots you're wearing at the end of that episode, they were a different color boot. They looked like they were black boots versus brown boots. Were they your same boots? Did you have more than one pair of the boots?
No, like I said, my outfit stayed pretty consistent the whole time. I would have to go back and look. I didn't think they were.
Might have just been
I had
the
a
light.
knife in my boot by that time, though. That was a big thing for Israel.
And money that Ben Franklin. So you didn't get to keep that note that had your name and Ben Franklin.
That would have been cool. Wouldn't
That'd been a nice souvenir.
That would have been a nice souvenir. Yeah, don't have that one.
But your hands weren't all black. I thought that was funny. You'd see, how, like, what were they doing? They must have been like rubbing that money to make it so black. That was a little overkill.
Nitpicker you are.
That's funny. Oh,
You know, I
Carla
did have to
Craybaum
say-
says, yay, we got 6 now. We got 6 votes.
I didn't maybe appreciate it enough at the time, but I have to say our set dressers were really good.
Yes.
I know the little areas they were working with and what they had to deal with. I think they did very well.
Well, you know, it's interesting that thing that he shows that's, look, I guess it's supposed to be the heart, that
Right.
red thing with the liquid. That's actually in his one-man show. So I'm wondering how much the actor had said to them, had made script adjustments or stuff that he
Oh, I'm sure
purposely
he did. I'm
wanted
sure
put
he
in
did. Like
there
I said, he
to
got
promote
it.
it, to cross-promote it.
I'm sure he did. Like he had his book that, a lot of those quotes came out of and everything. So yeah, and why wouldn't they listen to him? He was the expert on Ben.
Yeah, but that actual mechanism is in that 15 minutes of the one-man show thing. I
cool.
saw it and I was like, oh, that's where I saw that from. Oh, Michelle Butler, yay for sisters. Brenda Mudrack, 7 votes for the sisters.
Kevin Bryce for 7.
And he says you had 7 votes for the sisters.
Now I haven't even
Yes
asked
for the
them.
sisters.
They may not be available, because they're very busy, and so who knows if they have.
They're too busy for their baby brother. No. You got to ask though. Don't make me harass you to ask them, Darby. I think your sister's actually on the list, so we'll make sure if you don't post it, I will post the question.
Why?
Make sure I tag her.
Why did I say that I would do this? This isn't good.
It'll be fun. A nice
Older sisters
Thanksgiving.
telling stories is not a good thing.
You're going to have to let us be the judge of that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Well, thank you for being a champ. That'll be in 2 weeks. So just know that's not next week. It'll be the following week because I think Thanksgiving's 3 weeks away. So we'll do it.
And meanwhile, I will work on Ben 10.
Ben 10.
Ben 10.
Autographed. So don't forget to write what you want them to sign it or say.
You got it.
Have a good night, Darby. Thank you very much.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in a couple weeks.